Hi guys, I've been receiving a lot of requests to talk about the business analyst job, the primary roles and responsibilities, and how new aspirants can get into the field of business analysis. So basically, I have created this video for the entry to medium level guys. So if you are looking to get a job in business analysis, or you are already working but you need to improve your performance, this will help you. I haven't included senior level guys like 8 to 10 year experience or more, primarily because you are already aware of the changes you need to make in your work style if you already have experience of 8 to 10 years. So senior guys should know. In case you are struggling with your work, you can directly message me. I will try to cover you also, and I will create a separate video for senior level guys. Okay, so first, let's start with BA role. So, because before we understand what kind of competencies are needed and how you can do well or get job, we first need to understand what exactly are you needed to perform as BA. So, a typical IT business analyst or system analyst is involved in a project from very beginning. It involves estimating project efforts, performing requirement elicitation, documentation, and then you eventually test and but before test you create test plans. So basically sometimes these are called SFT, system functional test plan. Usually most of the teams will have a separate QA team which will perform QA UAT, but a development team will also have some kind of development testing. So unit testing is performed by the developers, the coders, and the BAs are responsible for performing SFT. But again, you need to check or look at your team's setup. It could be different. But point is, if you are working as a BA, your work start from the very beginning of the project. Programmers will still wait, testing team will still wait, but you are involved from a very beginning. I'm not saying if the programmers will not be impacted, they don't do anything. Just to highlight that requirement gathering or elicitation happens before actual coding. Now, programmers are involved in efforts and estimations, but point is, you if you are working as a BA, you have to start tracking the project activities from the very beginning. And tracking is very important. A lot of business analysts don't realize that project management is kind of the subset of business analysis. You have to look at the project timelines and your schedule and your target dates, and based on that you need to perform all of these activities. So for example, sometimes there are different business analysts working on BRD, that is business requirement document, which is closer to business, and different BA working on the design document, which is closer to the development team. So it's like you have two BAs. One is working with the business users and stakeholders to get the requirements, working it with them, getting sign off, then delivering it to development team, and then the BA from the development team working on that BRD to create the solutions. So if that is the case with your team, then you need to have your priorities very clear, that you are going to coordinate with the BA who is working with the on BRD. In that case, you are not responsible for requirement gathering. So if there is any requirement missing in the BRD, then that BA is accountable for that. That BA is responsible for that. You need to mention that. You need to mention these things in your BA doc, and the project scope and the requirement scope should be clearly mentioned in it. And in case there is a change, you should clearly define it. Similarly, if you are responsible for system functional test plan, you should work with your project manager and the senior management to identify and establish these responsibilities. So these are the typical activities which a BA will do, as I said, from project estimations, requirement gathering, documentation, testing, creation of test plans. And then we have these underlying competencies. Now there are a lot of competencies which are mentioned in the Babo guide, and if you look at the other official resources, but communication skill is the most important thing. I mean, whether even for the project management professionals in an IT environment, in a development environment where you are working with multiple teams. In many cases, these teams are located in different geographies and different cultural. So in those cases, communication skills are very important. In fact, these are the most important skills, I will say. So if you are aspiring to become a business analyst, or if you are a business analyst already, you should start working your communication skills. You should look at the if you are working with a client or a development team which is in a different region and there are cultural issues, you should also try to understand and learn the cultural nuances, because that will help you with your communication. And if when you are not sure, don't try to, like they say, act smart. Don't try to act smart, just be specific. Don't try to joke things, because you don't know when you may end up offending someone. So it's important, and you should, have a clear cut communication. In fact, I have seen a lot of people making mistake of joking in emails. One to one interaction, personal interaction is very clear. You can still, compensate if you make a mistake. But in an email, you don't know when you may write something which you think as is funny, but for the reader, it's offensive, or rather offensive. So that's why make sure you don't use emails to, joke and do some funny thing. Just be specific in them. Project management skill, as I mentioned earlier, project management is a subset of business analyst. You are going to start working at the beginning, and your work is not over till the project is delivered. So that is why you need to know what all skills, what all things you need to perform in a project, what is the timeline, what is the schedule, who is the appropriate stakeholders. You need to make sure that you develop project management skills. Then you have coordination skills. So as I mentioned, communication and coordination are kind of go together. But as you are working with different team, in most of the IT companies and most of the non IT companies also, um, chances are you are working in a team where you will end up with interacting with multiple teams which are handling multiple systems, integration and things like that. So you need to coordinate with different teams. You need to look at the timing details. Sometimes, if you have to mail someone who is at offshore, then you need to think about the time. So if you mail in your morning, chances are your mail will be somewhere deep below in the long list of emails for them. So if you want your mail to shine at the top, then you need to make sure that you are mailing at their morning. So similarly, adjust these timings, and coordination skills are important there, because then you will know how to coordinate, when to coordinate. So it's part of that. Then you have the document management. I mean, and this is one of the primary responsibilities of business analysts. You need to create documents, you need to update their versions. And as when I say update version, because updating requirement is something which is common. Everybody knows that you create a requirement document, a test plan, you walk it through with stakeholders, and then update it based on the feedback. What people don't realize is that they also need to update the revision history. So you should start with something like, say, version 0.1. And if you make any change in the document, in the requirement, make sure you update the revision history, and the latest document should become version 0.2. Revision history is very important. Always update what exactly you updated in the document. So learn document management. And then you have the decision making, because you are ultimately making lots of decision. If you presented a solution or a requirement and somebody pointed out something, you need to make decision on real time, whether you need to accept it or reject it. Now, of course, sometimes you will not be able to do it in real time, and in those cases, you can always ask stakeholders to wait so that you can perform further analysis and get back. But decision making skills, leadership skills are one of the most primary skills you will need. So start working on that. So now coming to how to get a BA job. Now, this is very important for freshers. So, if you see, domain experience is the best method. So, if you are already working in some industry like insurance, aviation, healthcare, then getting a job of business analyst in your organization or in a development organization. So, every organization today have a IT division. Which is primarily responsible for managing all the systems and integration and things like that. So if you want, this is one of your best bet. You can seek a transfer within your organization from, say, you are underwriter in an insurance company or a cashier in a bank. Now you want to move to a IT division. You can speak to your management and see if there is an opening, when there is an opening. Now, if you want to seek better opportunities outside your current company, then definitely IT and technology companies which are responsible for development and things like that are better options. But in that case, again, domain experience is your key. So when you are creating your resume, and you can download the one which is in the template, which is in the resource section, in some other video, you can highlight your domain experience. Your domain is your biggest strength. Now, if you don't have a domain experience, you are a college pass out, then you need to look at your education, academic qualifications. For MBAs, it's kind of straightforward. You can directly apply, but having a certifications like ECBA is always a plus. ECBA is entry level certification offered by IIBA. This is for people like you who are college pass out and looking to get into business analysis. This is a very good option for you guys. CBAP, CCBA, for them you need some kind of BA experience, so you can ignore that at this stage, but you should try to get ECBA. Now, again, based on your work experience for college pass out, you need to target the entry level jobs. For folks with some domain experience, you can target the middle level BA job, but don't expect to get full-fledged job responsibilities if you are moving from one domain to another, like from insurance to IT, or within insurance, from insurance division to IT division. There will be some there could be some difference in your expectation, but the work profile you will get could be something like testing, and from testing they may gradually move into business analysis, requirement gathering, things like that. So you need to coordinate and communicate with your management team in those cases to get a better picture. Then the performance improvement. So basically, this is applicable for those guys who are already working as a business analyst, entry level, middle level. So basically, client satisfaction is the key in case of business analysis. So you need to ensure that, in fact, you may prefer to piss off your management but never piss off your client, because ultimately they are the one who is paying for your job. So this is very important. And then you have stakeholder coordination and communication. As I mentioned, stakeholders most of the time will be your clients, but sometimes they could be other folks in other teams. So you need to ensure that your communication and coordination is clear. Again, project tracking is key to business analysis. Make sure that you are meeting your timeline, because if you don't know the project schedule, you are not punctual, then you will end up missing timelines, which is going to take a toll on your appraisal. So make sure that you are doing that. Then you have to clear out things with your management. Sometimes, as I mentioned earlier, if there are two business analysts in your team, one is working on BRD, one is working on the detailed design, in those cases you need to figure out what exactly is your role. Similarly, if you are responsible for testing or not, sometimes same guy is doing both of these activities, sometimes there are different individuals. So make sure that you are on same page with your management. You have to make sure that there are no doubts. So because everything is going to come back and hit your job. And always perform gap analysis before recommending solutions, because I have seen that sometimes business analysts recommend a particular solution which may look fine at that moment, but later on it end up breaking some existing functionality in application, which becomes a major issue. So make sure there are no blowbacks, and these things will impact that. I will attach the copy of this presentation in the resource section, so if you want to keep it with you, you can keep it. And in case you have any doubts, if you are looking to get a job in business analysis or improve your performance as business analysis, do let me know. I'll try to answer your questions. Thank you.